Interesting about that is like when you're kind of directing the crew,
Yeah.
and you're like as young as I am. When you have a beard, when you say no, they listen.
They take you more seriously.
Yeah. When
Well,
you don't have a beard and you say no, they go, "Oh, he's young. He might not. We'll check back later."
Well, I have to say, I think your cast took you very seriously on this film Journey2. It was a lot of fun, and I wanted to know, if you're going to make a film, hey, why not shoot in Hawaii?
Yeah, I always say, like, if you're going to work, try to work in Hawaii, because we shot in paradise for 4 months, basically. And it's interesting, like, for me, I wanted to expand the movie from what the first movie was and take it off a soundstage because I wanted a bigger experience. I wanted, like, an epic movie. And so we tried to find a location that would give us a really diverse look, and of course it came into being Hawaii. And it was funny because, this is what I wanted. I wanted a movie that vibed like Indiana Jones or like Goonies, like an adventure movie from the 80s. And so I'm like, let's put the actors in the dirt, let's go shoot in a rainforest. But it was also like the most difficult thing because you shoot in a rainforest and it's gonna rain.
Right.
So it was interesting. It was like the most difficult part of making the movie, but it also like benefited the movie so much because the movie now has like this untamed feel. And I feel like the landscape is something and the scope is something we couldn't have captured on a soundstage.
Absolutely. It was actually beautiful to watch a lot of the scenes for sure. I mean, there's a lot of CGI, of course, but still, you can tell when they're really out there.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the cast because I think you kind of hit the jackpot. Now, of course, let's just start with Josh because we've watched that kid grow up, and my God, has he turned into an amazing actor, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Josh was born to be an actor. Josh's story is that he was like 9 years old and living in Kentucky, and his parents were like, "Oh, sure, you want to be an actor?" So he calls like a talent agent himself in LA and gets an interview. But the guy is a natural actor. I feel really lucky to be working with people like Josh and Vanessa at this point because they're right at the beginning of their careers. Like, they're huge. Well, they may be big stars for a lot of people, and the people that don't know them, they're going to know them very soon. Yeah. And Josh is the type of guy that I want to make movies with forever because I really got along with him, and he's just an incredibly talented guy, and we've seen like, the iceberg of his talent. We've seen what's above the surface, but what's below the surface is so much greater, so he's going to go really, really far.
And he likes to do his own stunts, doesn't he?
He is, he's incredibly physical. You're like, no, you're not jumping off that cliff, Josh. That's like, my role is to be like, no, like, we can get, your stunt guy to do that. But you see it in the movie, like, he runs and jumps and slides off eggs, and like, he really jumps in the cliff. Dwayne too, like, they really embrace the movie. I mean, I think one of the things is that when you show up to set and you're really passionate about what you're doing and you want to elevate this and they start to see that, it sets the tone. And a guy like Dwayne in particular, who comes from a sports background, he wants to elevate. I mean, I think Dwayne is so successful in everything he does because when he comes on board something, he's 100% in. He wants to make it the best thing possible. So like, with this movie and how we wanted to kind of make a great 3D experience, Dwayne in particular was like, who by the way, Dwayne's very three-dimensional anyway.
Absolutely.
So he was like, what can I bring to a 3D movie? So you get things like the peck pop of love, you get a certain physicality out of him. And the whole cast brought that. They brought it to like, how do we make this the best experience possible?
Yeah, and speaking of Dwayne, I mean, who knew? I mean, do his talents never end? He sings and plays a ukulele. Hello?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Dwayne is like when, first of all, when I first moved to Los Angeles, I wrote down a list of like, my dream people to work with, and Dwayne was on that list because I'd seen the Gridiron Gang, and I thought, wow, this guy can act. And you know him as an action star on one side of the spectrum, then you look over on the other side of the spectrum, he does like these kind of family comedies like The Game Plan. Right. And when I brought him onto this movie, when we were lucky enough to get him, it was like, I want to do the full Dwayne Johnson experience. I want the comedy, I want the action moments, and then like, let's explore that. And so Dwayne plays the ukulele and sings, and what I really liked about the experience with Dwayne was just crafting a character with him that was a little different than what I'd seen out of him before, because he plays a father, and not only is he like the normal, like what he usually plays, like kind of a hero and a leader, but now he's got to be like a father figure, which is really interesting to see Dwayne take that on, and he did such a great job with it.
Now I have to know, did he make you pop your pecs?
I cannot pop my pecs, no.
He didn't even teach you?
You know what, Josh is under Dwayne's tutelage as we speak. Every time I see them at we were just in Mexico City 2 days ago, and I watched Dwayne put Josh on the spot and try to pop his pecs on television. It was fantastic.
And having Michael Caine, that's not too shabby either.
Sir Michael Caine, yes. Two-time Academy Award winner Michael Caine. Yeah, that was pretty great. And the funny thing about Michael is that, you're like, Sir Michael? And he's like, it's Michael, Brad. He's so humble, he's so down to earth, he's so talented. And I felt so lucky because, you give him a direction and you'd be halfway through the sentence and he'd know exactly what you want. And, oh, absolutely, you know, and then you're like, take two, and he nails it, and you're like, all right, great. This is the bonus of working with a guy like you. And it was really exciting for him too, because like we talked about how, you know, he has grandkids now. So the big thing he was telling his grandkids was like, oh, your grandfather's gonna ride a giant bee in this movie, you know? So he was excited, I think, to be an adventurer again. Because Michael, you know, he played some tough guys early in his career, you know? He was kind of like an action guy back in the day. So this was cool to get him kind of almost back to that. So he was like almost like like Indiana Jones's grandfather kind of figure.
Yeah, it's great. I'm just wondering, Brad, who was the director that influenced you most in your career?
A lot. I mean, I'm such a fan of movies that I can't help but be influenced by everything I see. For this movie in particular, I sat down and I tried to study the masters of like adventure filmmaking. So it was Steven Spielberg, and Steven Spielberg. And you can't help but be influenced by things like Indiana Jones or Romancing the Stones, like Zemeckis and Lucas and Spielberg. And now J.J. Abrams is doing it, and you know, these are the guys that like inspire you, that you aspire to be like. And for me, it's just about storytelling. It's about being a good storyteller and progressing as a storyteller, because no matter who you're looking at as a great director, ultimately they're great visual storytellers. Fincher, all these guys, and so that's the thing. Is for me, is just advancing as a storyteller and trying to one day earn a spot to be compared to them. So yeah.
Well, very good. And also we have the Canadian connection, the James Cameron. You can't forget him.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud about that, you know. And he was a big supporter of this because we actually used his technology, post-Avatar technology for this. And it's, I mean, he's like, you know, top 10 world director. So it's kind of amazing to be Canadian and to look at him kind of do what he's done in Hollywood. It's inspiring.
Yeah, well, you did a great job on this. It's a lot of fun, and I think kids and families are going to have a wonderful time. Excellent. Thanks for coming to Toronto, and always wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Cool.
Okay, guys.